It's an honor to be here with statistician and quantitative psychologist Li Tsai. He's a professor of advanced quantitative methodology at the UCLA Graduate School of Education and Information Studies, with a joint appointment in the quantitative area at the UCLA Department of Psychology. He's also director of CRESST, the National Center for Research on Evaluation, Standards, and Student Testing, and managing partner at Vector Psychometric Group. What do you do for a living?
I primarily conduct research in the area of educational measurement and educational statistics. I teach courses at UCLA, training students in research design, in educational measurement, in understanding program effectiveness.
How has education in the broadest sense been affected by the rise of computers, the internet, and educational technologies?
At the biggest level, whole school systems can change. The way content and instruction are delivered, that would change in response to educational technology. At the classroom level, the way that the students interact with their teachers also would change in response to technology. Students interact with educational technology much more these days, and that certainly has had sometimes positive, sometimes negative impact on general outcomes. And at home, there are simply more opportunities for kids to interact with their screens. And that's been something that the researchers are still grappling with and trying to understand.
With all of this technology, are we in a better place?
Well, if you are to take the most objective yardstick that we currently have would be the National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, our nation's report card. I would say that there has really not been a lot of impact. There may be a differential impact on different segments of the student population. In other words, some students may have benefited more from the infusion of technology or new ways of instruction, new curricula built on top of technology than others. If you have a coherent framework and you have some guiding theory of change behind a program that leverage technology to instruct, to entertain, and to help grow the whole child, I think that you'll have a success story. On the other hand, if technology is really only used to replace what might otherwise be an in-person experience, it's debatable whether it's actually beneficial or not.
A teacher replacement in the form of some kind of technology is a questionable application of technology in education.
I don't think that's going to work. You would have to find a way to not only involve the teachers, but put them back in the center and make sure that the technology isn't distracting and taking away from their valuable time so that they could focus more on what they could do, which is to address obstacles, to intervene when they see there is an issue, to tailor their instruction to different students. And technology can achieve wonders if we give the teachers the tools that they need so that they can adapt. But if you replace classroom instruction, replace the teachers with technology, I am still of the persuasion that you'll run into an uphill battle.
Have you worked with any of the technology labs on campus at UCLA?
Oh, certainly I have. As director of CRESST, we have probably worked with nearly all of the departments and schools on campus in various capacity, sometimes as evaluators, sometimes as consultants, and sometimes as research collaborators. So for example, Professor Songchun Zhu's vision lab, computer vision lab, is one of those that we worked with. In fact, I recall, walked into his office, his little office upstairs in Boder Hall, and we sat down and talked about the possibility of using his very different kind of AI. At the time, to be frank, as a statistician, I was a bit skeptical. But then we met and we sat down and I later on, I read some of the work. I couldn't say that I understand everything, but being a statistician, I know enough math to be able to decipher what Sontran and his lab over all of these years have been really onto. And that's to really fuse theory, this theoretical understanding, into mostly data-driven exploratory usage of models that dominate all of the AI or machine learning landscape. So I was very encouraged by that and discussed how this particular brand of AI could be used in educational settings.
It looks like it may be commercialized soon, sometime in the next year or two. What do you imagine it can offer that is positive and different?
Seems the kinds of AI that Sontran and his team that they're working on can be quite general. And if you can figure out a way to cross over into different subject matter, different grades, and different settings, not necessarily classroom-based, that would be wonderful. What if AI and what if educational technology could be accurately used to predict what the students' statuses are and be able to recommend actions that we have research, we have evidence to show that would work, and then essentially all of the teachers, no matter how experienced they are or what kind of prior exposures to technology or different kinds of educational practices that there may be, they could all achieve the same kinds of quality of classroom instruction. And that, I think, would be a very noble thing that AI could help the education enterprise to achieve.
Are the consumer learning products that now exist a new must, a baseline, and without which my child is falling behind the others?
You're bringing up an interesting aspect that we have not touched upon, which is the role of parents. In many ways, I think that the voice of parents have not been properly heard in the development of these large-scale educational technology products deployed on the school side. Their opinion matters a great deal. So I think a successful educational product that catered to what the parents believe their kids may be in need for should have its place. Right now, educational assessments, as we currently practice in North America, in the US, rely, I would say, on technologies that are quite old. And assessments are developed with years of work. They're careful, very costly, but on the other hand, they are a little bit too late. And the assessment tends to be given toward the end of the school year. So by the time the score reports come back, it is already way too late for the schools to do anything. It's way too late for the students, the learners themselves, to be able to do anything, or for the parents to do anything. And this would call for something that's much more agile, something that must be happening on a regular basis in the school year, where teachers and students are present, not toward the end of the school year. But what that calls for would be something that's vastly different from the current infrastructure supporting large-scale end-of-year assessments in the US. What it requires is one's ability to rapidly generate content, assessment content, to rapidly score these content, to rapidly sort the information into various databases, and to produce reports on a real-time basis for a school's principal, for a classroom teacher, or for the parents. And then we're talking. So let me then move to the instructional side. We alluded to some of the more mundane tasks that technology or AI would be very good at. One of those would be to find appropriate content given where the students are at. For example, given a particular misconception regarding fractional equivalence, Well, if you are that specific, AI should be very good at finding from, this large database, as we now call the internet, relevant sources, so that we could point the students to those resources and help them overcome their obstacles. Now, that's something that AI can help us with. But again, it does require, in the middle, the intervention of a teacher. A typical fourth grade classroom in LAUSD might have more than 30 or 35 students, and only one teacher. So is there a way for AI to help the teachers keep track of all of the daily activities, the plans, the feedback, and all of the communication that the students are having with the teacher, the parents are having with the teacher, or internal communication, and help the teachers? And that's what AI can also help with. So we're talking about AI being helpful on the instructional and the assessment front. Together, I think that you're going to see the needle moving in a positive direction.